Gina Acosta, editor-in-chief of Progressive Grocer, and I am very excited to be joined once again today by Carol Leaman, president and CEO of Axonify. She's going to shed light on how grocers can reimagine their labor operations, and today we're going to talk all about skills, the skills gap in grocery. Carol is an award-winning thought leader with an impressive track record of successfully leading tech companies. She's also the brains behind Axonify's workforce training solution, which helps companies with recruiting, training, and engaging the front line. Carol, welcome once again.
Thanks, Gina. Great to be back.
So Carol, let's talk about this skills gap in grocery. Do you think that the increase in e-commerce and the pandemic have created a skills gap in grocery?
Anecdotally, absolutely, yes. We're hearing it from all of our grocery customers. Actually, not a single one has not talked about the skills gap. And they're being forced, because of the labor shortage, they're being forced to hire people with less experience and the related skills for the jobs they're being hired for. And so that results in a whole waterfall of issues. They have to slow down their training process because people require more time and support on hire, and that impacts the customer experience. So a whole host of things come out of that. And then, if they use technology to address staffing issues and rising costs, those things kind of introduce new skill requirements as well. And, just getting an employee to use a handheld device to fulfill online orders, or figure out how to monitor self-checkout terminals, those things require technology training, and the grocers have to make sure the workers understand how to effectively use those tech tools within job processes. And that's, again, different than just training on how to use a cash register, which in and of itself is a whole series of training and skills. The other thing I would say is that because of the skills shortage and the labor shortage, what grocers are starting to do is use gig workers to fill staffing gaps. And those are especially for functions that don't require full-time and part-time employees. So things like stocking shelves or emptying trucks. But that also means those workers can only work in really specific functions based on that one thing that they're doing. And then finally, I would say, burnout, another hot topic in the industry, has definitely impacted bench strength, and lots of really motivated and highly capable people have actually left the workforce because of the stress and the strain. And that has resulted in managers being sometimes more burned out than their associates. And that's creating a skills gap because people aren't there to even manage.
That is really interesting and something I hadn't thought of, and I'm going to write that down for the next workforce feature that we do. Okay, so as some tasks in grocery are becoming, more and more automated, how can grocers prepare their workers to adapt to this?
That's a really great question, because there's so much fear, every time something gets published about technology replacing the human being in the workflow. And so, the first thing I would say is that you should be keeping your workers informed of the things that you're doing to introduce technology into the workplace. They really shouldn't have to guess about how their jobs might change, or if they're going to have a job at all. So that's just going to take the temperature down, keep them informed, and give them opportunities to think about other things within the business they might want to get skilled on in order to be able to change jobs and be mobile within your business versus just kind of waiting for the shoe to drop. The other thing is, just as you introduce technology, again, making sure they understand it. Interestingly, we've all had this experience of going to the self-checkout and it doesn't work for whatever reason. They need to have lots of people who can come and help that customer live. So technology's there, but the human element is not going to go away. It's just going to take a different form. And then, you got to help workers build durable skills and those are the ones that are really going to differentiate your brand, and support their performance and career development. And so, that includes things like customer interaction and upselling and teamwork and problem solving. Those sorts of skills are always going to be required regardless of technology. Technology is going to reduce friction, create efficiency. There's no doubt about it, but there's nothing that can foster the human relationship and brand loyalty like an actual person does.
Absolutely. Agreed. So let's talk about skills, specifically, upskilling and reskilling. Can you just talk about sort of the difference between those two terms and how grocers might be approaching those?
Yes, another great question. People use those terms sometimes interchangeably. And
Mhm.
when you really think deeply about it, they are different. So, upskilling means developing the skills to improve the performance in an associate's current role. So, taking them sort of next level. And an example would be training a cashier to support self checkout. So again, all related to checking out the customer, but it's an incremental skill to improve the performance and add to that particular role. Reskilling is a little bit different, and that's building the skills in the associate to enable them to transition to a new role or support a significant change in their current job. So an example of that would be training a cashier to work in the IT support department, for example. Very different jobs and different skill sets required. Interestingly, cross-training is another term that we hear very, very frequently and is another super important strategy. And this involves, especially with the labor shortage, developing skills so that while a worker has a specific role that they are primarily hired to do, they actually can swing to a completely different role. And so, for example, taking a cashier who may also have skills related to stocking shifts or stocking shelves when required, in case somebody else doesn't show up for work. And so they can move roles, have that mobility depending on the staffing situation that day.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, I hadn't thought about cross training. Thanks a lot for clarifying that. That's really interesting. So, why is it important, you think, for grocers to upskill and reskill their workforce right now?
It's again such an interesting concept to me that this whole idea of upskilling, reskilling is so prevalent in what I would couch the corporate workspace. People who sit at a desk all day, and the focus on training that workforce and offering them opportunities has just been around for so long, and it's finally here in jobs and areas where that focus has just historically not been there. And so, the reason is the same: upskilling, reskilling. It's so essential to helping workers keep pace with change. That's true regardless of what job you're in. And the reskilling aspect of that gives them new job opportunities, career opportunities, builds leadership depth within your organization, which again is so critical. It keeps people around longer and supports that employee retention,
Right.
so that they can be successful today. And more earning opportunity, job flexibility, all of those things foster not just an employee who's so much better engaged with your organization and feeling like you're investing in them, but for the organization itself, it fosters huge agility. And the more skills people have, the more they can be utilized to effectively run the business, and just all the way through that cycle, costs are reduced, people stay longer, you don't have to hire as many. You just have this way more capable workforce. And that need to continuously hire gets diminished, which is just a massive cost in the business. So, you basically have a workforce that can spend more time focused on the things that you need them to do to move the needle on the business versus just, constantly chasing this hamster wheel of getting people in role, quickly training them before they inevitably leave. So it's a different kind of mindset when you're thinking about upskilling and reskilling the grocery associate, and it's high time for that change.
Agreed. Last question. So how can workforce technology tools, help with all of this reskilling and upskilling and cross-training, all of that, increase efficiencies and help the business and the bottom line?
Technology, whether we like it or not, is here to stay, and it is finally making its way into the hands of the grocery associate and grocers generally. And really right fit technology, those that suit, the workflow and the needs of your organization. At the end of the day, all they do is make sure the right people are focused on the right tasks at exactly the right time. And there's no guesswork involved. The manager's workflow is simplified. Instead of assigning work using traditional means like paper checklists, whiteboards, things like that, workers can pick up their tasks on their own, basically through technology, and be automatically assigned things that need done within the store versus, again, a lot of inefficiency in the human need to walk up to somebody, tell them something, have them go away and do something. All of that workflow can be automated and really, really personalized and specific to the store, to the individual, to what needs done. The other thing that technology allows workers to do is, in that moment of need, access training and resources using those same devices, the same technology. And in many cases now, fortunately, it's their personal smartphones. Historically, they had to step away and go look for something. And oftentimes they just don't have time to do it. So, all of technology allows you to capture, deliver, and then capture everything that's going on in a really, really super efficient way and get data to analyze and then apply to making it even more efficient and improving performance for the person, but also the organization.
Thank you so much, Carol, for talking with me today about this very important topic in the grocery industry.
Thank you, Gina.